unter der Maßgabe eines Bundestagsbeschlusses völlig eindeutig und schon mit Festlegungen, die noch zu treffen sind.
Now we move on to our next news. Russian drone attacks have struck the northern Ukrainian city of Nizhyn in the Chernihiv region, causing widespread damage and civilian injuries, according to Ukraine's emergency services. A wave of drones hit key civilian infrastructure, including a postal warehouse, several apartment buildings, as well as retail shops. 2 civilians were reported injured, and multiple vehicles were destroyed in the assault. Firefighters working through the night to extinguish fires and manage the aftermath. The strikes on Nizhyn were part of a broader Russian offensive that has also targeted gas facilities across eastern Ukraine. The coordinated attacks have triggered significant disruption to the country's energy grid, resulting in widespread power outages. Ukrainian authorities continue to assess the full extent of the damage as emergency services and utility workers race to restore critical services. Now we move on to our next news. Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has issued a statement saying that the ball is in the Afghan Taliban's court for a permanent ceasefire. A day after a 48 truce was called in the wake of deadly cross-border clashes, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has told his cabinet that the Pakistani Taliban must be eliminated and that Afghan territory should not be used to plot attacks. The remarks came a day after the 48-hour ceasefire was announced following a week of violence along the Pakistan-Afghanistan frontier, in which dozens of troops and civilians were killed in both sides. Pakistan is facing a resurgence of attacks against its security forces on its western border with Afghanistan, led by the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan and its affiliates. Islamabad has accused Kabul of harboring groups led by the TTP on its soil, a claim that Kabul has consistently denied. Let's in fact listen into what Pakistani Prime Minister has said.
The ball is in their court. अब उन्होंने अगर वाकई वो संजीदा हैं, वाकई वो सिंसियर हैं, तो मैं समझता हूँ कि वो उनको फिर अपनी जो सीज़ फायर के लिए जो उन्होंने दरख्वास्त की है, अब वो बात आगे बढ़ाएं.
Now for this discussion, we are joined by Marisha Barve. What more can you tell us about the conflict that has taken place, Marisha?
Suma, the recent 48-hour ceasefire between Kabul and Islamabad shows that, that there is de-escalation of violence with the border clashes. Now, although the ceasefire is in action, it indicates that neither Afghanistan or Pakistan are ready for a full-fledged war, but they do so little to address the core issues. With Shehbaz Sharif, that is Pakistan's Prime Minister's statement, which has come about saying that the ball is in Afghanistan's court, comes very recently after this 48-hour ceasefire has been instilled, and the truce which is calling for a wake of the deadly cross-border clashes. Now, his remarks come just a day after this was announced, following a week of violence between both the nations. Now, there have been dozens of civilians that have been injured and killed on both the sides. Pakistan is facing a resurgence of attacks against its security forces on its western border with Afghanistan, and it's led by Taliban, which is in fact creating these issues in the first place. Islamabad has accused Kabul of harboring these militant, groups, these terrorist groups actually, and they claim that Kabul has consistently denied these claims. So this is what has caused these clashes, even though there is a 48-hour ceasefire that has been called for.
And Marisha, can you explain to our viewers why the Pakistan-Afghanistan border is such a sensitive location?
Well, there are multiple factors, Asuma, that actually lead up or that have led for these clashes in the first place. Now, Pakistan and Afghanistan share a border. Now, this is called the Durand Line. This globally is one of the most sensitive borders that has ever been known. And this is for several reasons. Let's trace it back a little bit to its historical disputes. Now, the Durand Line was drawn in 1893 during the British colonial rule over this region, and Afghanistan has never officially and formally claimed and recognized this territorial divide in the first place. This leads to a long-standing dispute of disagreements that fuels tension between both the nations. Let's talk about the ethnical ties. Both the borders cut through traditional homeland for both the Pashtun people. This is a community that resides near this border. This has caused a lot of displacement between the cross borders, making it so hard and increasing humanitarian crisis for this community, as they have to constantly keep displacing themselves from one region to the other. We have mounting security concerns that come about because the region is mountainous. This allows terrorist groups, that, including the Taliban, to actually reside and move freely in this region. Now, both countries actually accuse each other of harboring these terrorist groups, complicating security efforts as well. Also, like I mentioned, the displacement and refugee crisis, it is decades of conflict actually that have led to this cross-border clash. It also has a lot of geopolitical importance if you look at it. The border area is a strategic gateway for regional powers and international forces involved in Afghanistan, making it a hotspot for military operations, intelligence activities, and further diplomatic tensions. When you take into account its historic disputes, the ethnical ties, security concerns, and constant refugee displacement and humanitarian crisis, it just shows how deep and the gravitas of the whole Afghanistan and Pakistan clashes have been. And even though many a times it goes unrecognized, this has actually been a crisis that has been going on for quite some time, Asuma. We are grateful for the 48-hour ceasefire, and we certainly do hope that it further ends up in resolution and no more disputes creating any humanitarian crisis or loss of civilian deaths.
Yes. Thank you very much, Marisha, for joining